And hello. I'm Dan Lutz. Welcome to the latest broadcast of Dan and Tank Live. It's called Dank Live. And this is, for me, Sunday, May 12th. And it may be the 11th for you still in the evening. And today is another one of those wonderful days. I just was watching a YouTube called Serial Brain 2. It's a very fantastic analyzation of the QAnon and Trump tweets and how they orchestrate to tell a much deeper story. And this particular episode was dealing with the crash of that flight in Russia and the Kentucky Derby, and how they tie together as an MAGIC spell. And I did spell it out for a reason. So I really highly suggest that if you are into these deeper puzzles to know what's below the surface of what's going on and understanding how the system, the deep state religion is using this MAGIC to put out information into the world, to change the vibration, to give them power. You'll know that they're desperate. They're trying to now reverse the flow. The whole purpose of this latest was to reverse the flow of what has been going on. They know that they're in trouble, and they need to do something about it. Thus, they're using the tools at hand. We can go back to the time of Solomon and how he had control over the demons. And how the demons no longer wanted to have, when Solomon had died, they no longer wanted to be just the slaves. So they put out this system in place, and for these cults to follow, so that they would no longer just be the slaves. So they created a system in which you had to give sacrifice, to do things, so that they would then perform. So in other words, they created a lie. But these systems are all in place and now in use to create the world that they want. And it is, and Trump has upset that program. In fact, this last attempt did not succeed. They are losing on every front. And we're in the position of watching it happen in participation of what is going on. We see that we are now, our actions moving forward are defeating their attempts to take back control. In this case, we're looking at several fronts, the narrative being one of them, the conversation that is had, because it's the attention of the public on a particular item, and the way they start thinking about it sets a vibrational tone. And that is being upset. It's being transformed into something else. And they can't stop it. Because because Trump and the team, the Q team, are not beholden to the demons. They're the system that's are in place are not, let's just say, they have lost their direction, their punch. That's why they're grasping to try and take back, reverse the flow. So if you watch Serial Brain 2, you'll get the picture right? We could actually go through an analysis of it, put it up on screen. That's something that might be helpful for us to go through. That would definitely entail quite a bit. Now, I've not spoken with Tank before getting on the broadcast, so I did try to reach him, but he was not reachable. So, actually, I should send the link. I send it to more than one location, so let me go ahead and send it out again, just in case he's not able to get to it. And we will see where this goes. We have 122 watching right now and 30 likes. Come on, everyone, give your likes. Hello, everyone in the chat. I'm thankful for your joining, and this topic is a very deep one. It delves into what is magic, MAGIC. So what is it? What is it? How does it work? What is the intention behind it, and how it is being used in the world, and the effect that it's having has had on the populations, and what are those tools? Hollywood is a very big tool to set the vibration, the frequency at which music is played, and what is the base frequency. Is it the love frequency, or is it something to cause irritation? Again, creating a vibrational state of misery, of not being settled, of not being in love, something other than love. So the natural frequency of love, the creation frequency, is all to be upset. And this goes back to the Nazi German understanding these things and setting a different frequency for things. They set it in the tones of things of people that are in operation in the world, and those things that are resonating against by putting things into the press, the printed word. The printed word carries a vibration. You string them together, and it creates a sentence. You string the sentences together, creates a paragraph. Create the paragraph together, many paragraphs together, you create an article. I'm currently, was writing a blog post. It's really the first blog post of the wwg1wga.love site. There's an initial one that's introductory. Hello, join. These are the steps. But this is the first blog that I'm doing where I'm talking about the start of the offense, and I'm looking at this as the official attack signal. Attack, attack, attack. Torah, Torah, Torah. Sneak attack. Coming from the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. That was allowed to happen. So we've been playing this game for a long time. We're being pushed one way or another in a direction by the control of the narrative, by allowing certain things to happen. So they knew Pearl Harbor was a subject of an attack. So was it actually a surprise? The surprise was that the Japanese thought that they had a surprise attack. But all it did was awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve. And that resolve was the defeat of the Japanese. Though Torah meant secret attack, that their success was it was a successful secret attack. So this is what the intention was to have a secret attack, but it wasn't secret; it was known. We've known that that's come out and shown that the Americans knew that the attack was coming. But to awaken the population of the American people to what was going on, this was allowed to happen. So the narrative would now be directed into a war machine. And that war machine never stopped. It just changed focus as to who the current enemy was. We are now in another battle. The battle against the deep state. What is the deep state? Well, we have the government, the state, right? We have the deep state of, what does that conjure in your mind? Well, it's the deeper government. Well, what does that mean? To a lot of people, we can say it's the bureaucrats. Bureaucrats are the enemy. Those bureaucrats that are non-elected people that are the ones in control, not the elected. That's the enemy. Or is it deeper than that? Well, behind the people that are in the bureaucracy are the people that are, with the money, the banks. They're the ones that fund both sides of the war. In World War II, we had, George Bush's family, the Bushes, Prescott Bush, selling arms to both sides, creating funding of both sides. The banking system, Switzerland funding both sides. So that's deeper. So we get even deeper than that. It's the bloodline families who control the banks, control the money. Through time, the blood meant something to what side you were on. Who were you closer to? Now, I was looking, back in this, when I look back in my, 20s, I'm looking at the bloodline families as, this is the Merovingian bloodline. What does that mean? This was the one that was close to the bloodline of Christ, where Mary Magdalene, had a child, a female child of Jesus. So I was following that line back in my 20s, before the Da Vinci Code came out. But it's deeper than that. Yes, the kings all fought to be into the bloodline of Christ, right? To be close to God. And if you dig deep, you'll know that Mary, the mother of God, sorry, mother of Jesus, is the Catholic side. I was brought up a Catholic, went to Sunday school, got punished for asking questions. I left the Catholic Church at age 13. It didn't make any sense. Didn't follow the Bible, for one. Had all these idols to worship. It's very strange to me. This guy up on the cross, hanging there. Why would that be the symbol? Well, I get it. You can represent dying for sins and saying, okay, well, there's a purpose. You can represent it another way. But anyway, let's not get into that. But the monarchies all wanted to be of the blood, follow the bloodline. Why is that important, right? Why do they need to maintain that? Well, how deep do we go? Do we get back to the Anunnaki? that bloodline. That opens up a whole other dimension. But how deep do you want to go down the rabbit hole? How many red pills does it take to get to the bottom? Is there a bottom? It really doesn't matter how deep it goes. It's good to have perspective, but what we really need is to know where we want to go. To come together as one people of the earth, and move forward. I was talking with a friend of mine here in the Philippines, editor of a newspaper, and then we were talking about, he's very much aware of all of the situation of the scarecrow entities, birth certificate entities, and how it plays. Knows about the financial system. He's a datu. He's a king, right? If you want to put it that way, of a tribe, of a people. He suggested on the wwg1wga.love site, that there be a section for Philippines, for the stories of the Philippines, on how they want to defeat the cabal, the deep state. And so we were having that conversation just before. Actually, he had to get off. He may end up calling in. Maybe it'll be a good idea to put him on first. Of course, that phone isn't here. He may call in. But the hole goes very deep, and we were discussing it, and he was talking about the galactics, the beings from outside this planet or realm. And I said, we don't need their help. We don't need their help. That's what got us into the problem in the first place, asking for help. We can do this ourselves. We can come together in love of all of mankind. Whatever the race, whatever the color, whatever the height, whatever the weight, whatever the eye color, skin color, smell, taste. Doesn't matter. Whatever the senses we represent, we're born here. We are of earth. We need to come together and act as one, and we don't need the help of others. Hello, Tank.
Hello, Dan. I apologize. I've been trying to get on for 20 minutes. Yesterday, when I got bumped off, my whole phone got shut down, and when I turned it back on, all of my, Telegram and Google, or Hangouts apps, they were all deleted from my phone. I had to reboot everything from scratch.
They're the clowns in America.
All types of malware.
Yeah. I said, they're the clowns of America. Oh, yeah. Oh, playing games.
Yep.
It's all right, man.
So,
you get to call in, and it actually is good sound quality this way. Actually, it's actually better, people have said. So I do suggest we use Zoom, and we can avoid this Hangouts problem. It is part of the combined system, and it's okay. We use Telegram. Let me situate the phone next to the microphone in a way that means I don't have to hold it for 3 hours up in the air. So let me just set it here.
Understood.
Okay. That's it. I have a little bit of a tower here, so I hope this is okay. All right. I'll maybe have to come up with a much better setup for this as we go forward. So what I was just saying before you called in, I said that we don't need help from the galactics. That's where I was just leading off. I said we need to stand on our own. We need to come together, no matter our race, location, size, color of eyes, color of skin. It doesn't matter. We're born here. We come together as one, and we solve our problem of the deep state. I was saying, it doesn't matter how deep the deep state goes. You're just talking about the bureaucracy of the planet. Okay. But if we're talking about the people in the banking sector who are controlling things for money, okay. I'm going to go deeper into the bloodline families and their control and why they have, they're concerned about their blood. The Merovingian bloodline of Christ, okay. I'm going to go deeper than that. We get into the Anunnaki. You want to get into the gods that are here, the plural gods, of the Bible, right? It's a monolithic religion. It's the Bible. It's only one God, but it says multiple gods, right? So get into those gods and how they affected us. Doesn't matter. We're here. We're born here. We need to be humankind, mankind, and work from a place where we need to solve our problem, which is the deep state. Doesn't matter how far deep it goes. All it matters is that we solve it by coming up with our own system. Take control of it. Act for all of our benefit. That's what's important.
Well, I totally agree. And we've certainly been preaching and talking about human empowerment. And today, I could repeat the exact intel report, I'm sure. As a matter of fact, I bet if you did some research from, 2016, you could probably find me giving an identical intel report as to what is being told to people today about global currency reset. And I mean, verbatim.
Hey, I've got the Restored Republic queued up for the 10th, right? From 2 days ago, or whatever, day and a half. So if we want, we can go through that and listen to it, because I was laughing as I listened to the whole thing. I'm going, oh yes, I've heard this before. Exactly the same thing, word for word. I've been through this.
It's one of those things where it's repeated so many times that people become so knowledgeable in it that they mistake the rote repetition that they've heard so many times as they have grown so much in their understanding. But in reality, it's not growth in understanding, right? It's deeper programming.
Yeah.
And that's really unfortunate. And I say that with a lot of compassion. I don't say that as an attack or to pick on them, because it's really hard. Right? The deeper the programming gets, the harder it is to snap out of it. And,
right. Well, the tools of the mind control go back to the Nazis, where was it Goebbels that said that you tell a lie often enough, repeat it again and again until everybody believes it. Well, okay, they won. All right, everyone believed it. Okay, but it's a lie still. It's still a lie. Eventually people can wake up from it, and that's what we're talking about, the Great Awakening. Get on board with the Great Awakening. We need to defeat the cabal, the deep state. We need to move forward. It doesn't mean that it's not an aspect of a violent revolution, although that there is violence taking place around the world, but we want to minimize that as much as possible. The fastest way to do that is to wake up. If everybody wakes up, the people that have been sitting there going along with the agenda of the cabal, passing the paper to the next desk, rubber stamp it, move it forward, rubber stamp it, move it forward. All that money is too big, throw it to compliance. Yeah. Why is
Yeah.
the whole aspect of money being a problem to move is a system of control, and they want to give us the reasons why it's all okay. Listen, I got it. Use for weapons or drugs or whatever. They want to come up with the reasons as why they have to have complete control over who has money and how it gets moved. And people just accepting that, it's not money anymore. Money is meant as the medium of exchange between individuals, and there should be no one stopping it.
Yes. Well, I'll never forget this. I had a transfer come to my personal bank account for $8,324,000.
That's too big.
I knew the bank.
It's too big.
Oh wait, yeah, you're right. So now it came to my account, and it was a port-to-port transfer. And the way that Wells Fargo blocked it is they literally unplugged the port to the bank, right? Or it would have been directly into my account, right? So it was hanging there in limbo for a while. And so this comes in, and so I go in and I immediately investigate it, and I start asking them questions. And there's an FBI investigation actually filed on that particular transfer. That's kind of when we started, to win some favor, because Kim had gone to transfer money to some people connected in the government, and their money got blocked, and they were furious. Like, how is that possible, right? And these are people who investigate high crimes, right? And it's amazing how little these people are actually aware of, right? They don't actually, for the most part, a lot of them don't really know how things work, or they've benefited from how things work, and they just kind of let certain things slide. But when they didn't get their money, then now they had to go and investigate. But so I went and I sat down with this woman in my local bank, and she's been there for years, and I said, well, this money was transferred to my account, and it didn't come through, and she goes, oh, they'll never let you have that. And I thought to myself, what? I didn't think. I said it to her. I said, why not? Why do you think that? Why do you think they have the right to tell me the money that is mine, that I can't have it? What are you talking about? And who are they? Who are they that you're even referring to, right? So there's just an accepted understanding amongst, particularly with a lot of different personnel who just are trained to go to a place, sit there from 9 to 5, because they were trained all their lives by school, right?
Right.
So in school, you go to school all day long, right? Then you have sports after school, and you play this role your whole life, and the whole time you don't even appreciate that if there was just one teacher and just a few students, that whole day would take a couple hours. And my son pointed that out to me. He said, Dad, if I just could sit with the teachers, I said to him, would you want to get just full-time tutoring instead of going to school? He said, yes. And I said, why? He said, because so much of the day is wasted. There's nothing done. He goes, I could just sit down, and then on top of that, he goes, I know I'd understand it because I'd have the teacher right there with me, and I'd understand it. Now, that's the whole idea behind the family unit you were talking about, right? When parents are the ones raising their children. But we all accept it. Like, we need education. Now, what education really is programming, right, this way. Because, you could go up and stay with the Tibetan monks for a month, right, and just hang out with them. That's education. You could travel the world. You could see all these amazing historical artifacts and ruins and see how, tribes live in Africa and in Fiji. You could do all that, and all that would be education too. But most of us here in the United States would consider that irresponsible because we have to get our kids back to take the SATs or the LSATs, or we have to get them into a good college so their programming can continue, so they can make the right connections, they can join the right fraternity, and then they can have the right group of people who endorse them. Okay, all those things should not matter. We've actually accepted very commonly that it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And Thomas was talking about this the other night, and it's something I'm somewhat of an expert in, is pharmaceuticals, right? And he was talking about programs and the way, Thomas didn't have quite the same experience. So what he was talking about, he goes, and they're paying these doctors to go speak at these, and they're bribing them. And when he talked about it, I had to laugh because, I was in that industry, and I know a lot of people in it still. And, doctors, medical doctors, they all look at the doctor who makes the most money, and they listen to that doctor. And in these, they're not even CMEs. Like CMEs are like continuing medical education, but they're just speaker programs on drugs, right, to explain to you how to use the drugs. And so the doctors would speak on that drug. And they all follow. They don't care about the doctor who has the best results with his patients. What they care about is who is the doctor who makes the most money. And so the way the medical economy is designed is that insurance companies dictate what doctors can write, because obviously people are going to use drugs that are on their insurance. And all of the drugs, they're all designed to maintain a relatively healthy state, not healthy, a functional state, right? They're to maintain their health. Like, you cannot find an endocrinologist hardly anywhere. I mean, definitely not in Western medical practice, who will tell you that diabetes is curable. And yet, I know for a fact diabetes is curable. Matter of fact, I know the doctor who has the cure and is terrified to bring it out. I don't even know if and he's somebody I'm trying to get to come on and talk about it. For everybody out there who holds an amazing secret, right? You have some amazing way to do something. You've invented some way to, tap into the field, and you can power your whole town with a generator, right? For free. Or, you have some medical technology that you have that is the world, or you have the cure for something, which, by the way, all of those things, we have every one of those things in our network right now. Those are all real projects. They are coming out. And I'll tell you what, even if those people are afraid to really do it, I'm telling you what, I am going to do everything to make sure I'll put my name out there about it, so that they're safe, if that's what they think is safe. But the safest place to be is in public.
Mm-hmm.
We no longer should have to hide. We do not have to hide anymore. We don't have to hide. The safest place for you to be is out in the open, yelling your head off, not literally, but figuratively, telling the world what is going on. And the more of us that make that noise, it's like the walls of Jericho, right? They walked around the walls of Jericho, and they just let them hear them. And then they just, at the same time, let out their battle cry and took the walls down. All they did was just tap into a frequency and brought the walls down. Now that's a real thing. I mean, people have seen crystals break. The military, I've talked to the military about this extensively. They have targeted frequency devices that can literally send a frequency and take down a building. They can do a planned demolition from a mile away.
Mm-hmm.
So in the medical, right? In the medical, all these different things they do is they just continue to promote a product that will keep you functioning, right? And in this, it has to cause other side effects, because I compare it. It's all pharmaceuticals are. They're a one molecule that has been modified, and it creates a drug, right? So it's having this one molecule that superpowers something in it. So that basically treats one very small aspect of a disease. It doesn't treat the entire body holistically. It treats one very small aspect of a disease. So this would be like, you break your arm. So we cut off your arm and we put on the arm of, Arnold Schwarzenegger from 1975, right? So you got this one big, massive arm, longer than your body. It's huge, it's strong, right? And you think, man, my arm is doing great, but the rest of your body's thrown off. Your spine's thrown off. You're weak other places. You're miserable, right? You got this one really strong arm.
Oh, it's a connection problem. Well, we'll see. Probably call back in a moment. Yes, well, that is true. It's great that this one thing is solved, but the rest of your body falling apart. It was reminding me of just outside of pharmaceuticals, but the other chemicals and things that they do. Remember, there was this oil that they would I think it was Lay's potato chips that was doing that. They were frying it in this oil so that you wouldn't have the bad cholesterol, right? So it created this new oil, but the side effects was leaky butt syndrome. I'm rephrasing it a little bit. So, but basically gave you LBM. So this was the highlight of the product, right? You're going to eat these potato chips and then run to the restroom. I think you normally people would have just avoid these foods, right? And then, of course, it didn't stay on the market that long. But it's creating side effects that cause you to maybe take LBM medicine. So, is there a result of creating side effects so that they could make more money? Is that like really just getting into which way they can affect the populations of the planet to extract more wealth, right? By causing harm. Just another form of sorcery, right? Just another form of which they, put together elements to create an effect that makes them more money. It's just simply as that. Of course, there are things that are used in pharmaceuticals that have a result that are saving lives, and not denying that. And most of the people that are working in this industry are looking for the best of the outcomes. But that when they're using this as a way of creating profits from the harm it does to others, it's going to be abused. That's the type of system that we need to create an alternative with the desired goals. And what would be the desired goals? Well, how about the health of the individual without side effects? What if they actually got wealthy by creating healthy people? And the side effects meant that they actually made less. Now, we are through technology able to achieve this because we are able to track things. So certain things may fall into these kind of categories where we want to have the ability to track the effects of what happened when people take a medicine. And the longer that they don't need medicine, maybe the more that industry makes. How is that possible? How do we make a system that acts that way? Of course, if you look at it through the goggles of the system we have right now, it's impossible. But it's not impossible. It's just not being done because it goes against what the existing system is. So still haven't heard from Tank yet. I could try to call him back. Let's try something.
Man, I've been talking to myself for the past 10 minutes. Like a fool.
I thought I was waiting for you to call back. I should have tried to call you right away. I'm sorry. Next time, I wasn't thinking that you might have been just talking. It just I continued down the line of Lay's potato chips with I forgot that oil they fried things in. It made you have leaky butt syndrome.
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
and then you have to have
these ridiculous things. They're everything. It's the illusion of what something tastes like, right? It's chemicals in the meat. Like when people have like real. I remember this when I was a kid. My friend his family had a real cow. They'd raise it the whole year, fatten it up, and they'd butcher the cow, and then they'd have they'd have a massive freezer filled with fresh organic meat, right? And I remember having a burger at their house, and I almost got sick because it was so fresh. It was so different than what I was used to. It didn't smell the same. Nothing was the same, right?
Yeah,
so they know how to.
It's what I have when I came to the Philippines, right? And I'd have the vegetables here, and they were like fully They had full flavor, right? I don't know how else to say it. They felt full of enriched vitamins and minerals. You could literally taste the difference. And the food in America was hollow. That's the way I compared it. So I have a question for you. What color is butter?
White?
No, it's not white. It's orange.
Okay.
But unless you're getting it in America, it's not supposed to be white. It's actually supposed to be kind of an orangey yellow color. True butter.
Interesting.
All right. If you get fresh butter made and put in a refrigerator and everything from a cow that has been eating out in the grasses of the field and everything like that, it'll be more of an orangey yellow color. Same with eggs. Eggs are not supposed to be a yellow center. It's supposed to be an orange center. It's because it's the lack of vitamins and minerals that we're not. So let's say a chicken that's eating insects out, because there's a lot of chickens, as like in Fiji, you hear the roosters all roaming around, right? Well, people have chickens. I'm listening right now. I can hear roosters. I hear them. I know you can't pick them up on. You're not hearing them on the microphone, but I hear them. They're out in the distance, but they roam the land, right? Free range, quote unquote, and they eat the bugs. When they lay an egg, it's filled with the minerals in that from the bugs. Right? When you're eating the grain, when the chickens are fed with grains that are GMO'd grains, right? And they have a certain amount of nutrition, and that's all that's in them. So our food has been scaled back as to its nutritional quality. So that means you're always hungry, which means you're always eating, which means you're always getting the bad stuff that makes you fat and obese.
Yeah, so I don't know where I got cut off, but this is
Go ahead.
I'm always focused on this because it's very obvious at this point, right? Like, why on earth would my phone cut out in a clearly I didn't move. I was sitting in the same place, right, using the same exact platform we've used for the past 70 days straight, right? And now all of a sudden I start talking, right, and I start sharing things I don't want me to share, and my phone drops, and all of a sudden I've got unmarked cars pulling up on me, when I'm just sitting in the car. I'm not doing anything wrong. Why are you pulling me over? Right?
Must be a reason.
And true to form, I said exactly what I said. I said, I do not contract with you. I do not consent you pulling me over. And I said, I would like to see your oath of office because I don't know who you are. Like, you're unmarked. All they had on was a badge. I couldn't even tell what the badge said. But and then now they keep dropping calls. So every time the frequency goes out,
by the way,
they recognize. What's that?
Our stream of 200 people that was watching is now down to 43, and the super chat is turned off. Yeah, chat has been disabled for this live stream.
That's okay. That's okay. They can keep trying to shut it down. You know what? Hang up on me again. I'll call back. I'll find another way. I'll send a carrier pigeon. Whatever we have to do, I'm gonna get this message out. Because at the end of the day, what they are doing, the pharmaceutical industry is literally designed to keep everyone sick, to maintain optimal functionality and consistent, ongoing chronic diseases. Right? They've made cancer a chronic disease. We've had a cure for cancer for 100 years. They created AIDS. We know for a fact it's Nipsey Russell's got that video. He's got a documentary out now with the guy who cured cancer. It was brought before the Supreme Court. He had 77 people show up and prove with medical records that they were cured from AIDS. So we know that AIDS is curable. Why are we still using things that just manage it? Right? Why does that happen?
Right, thousands of dollars a month.
And you can go back and look at the AMA, and you'll see something. You'll hear him talk about the long, slow death. after World War II, you had, one of these Nazi scientists take over the AMA. That's speculation. Actually, I'm not sure if that's exactly true, but I'm pretty sure it's true, right? And they basically, they were experimenting. They were the master craftsmen and manipulators of the human mind and bodies, right? They tortured people. They had unlimited reign to torture people during, the Holocaust, and all types of people they were torturing, right? Not just Jews, all types of people. And in that torture, right, they learned a lot of things about the human body, and they learned the limits of the human body. It's where they were developing the tech to create the MK Ultra program, right? To create super soldiers. And the super soldiers, the MK Ultra guys, they were tortured. That's how they would put them in so much pain to show them their limits until they no longer felt pain. And then once you pass the pain barrier, the pain threshold, then there was nothing that was impossible for people to do. So they thrive and they absorb and they harvest our pain. They harvest our suffering. They love when we're divided. They laugh at us when it's like that. And even now, the guys running the call right now who are observing what we're saying, and they're getting ready to drop the call again. And if he says this, we're going to drop the call. Listen, you're a bunch of slaves too. You're a bunch of slaves too. So good. Listen to your slave master. Whatever you do, don't make your own decision, because then you might liberate humanity. You don't want that to happen. Then you could go on with your slave life.
Okay, so
imagine.
Just a note. I closed that page. I reopened it up, right, and now we're back to 195 watching, and the super chat is back on. So I don't know. It's like an illusion. It's like, just to like mess around. It's what good does it really do except show how desperate they are, right? To mess around this way. So you're on the wrong team.
Yeah, you're on the wrong team. Like, come back to Team Human. Listen, I'd rather lose and be human than win and be soulless.
Yeah.
But you know what? It doesn't matter because we already won. So, this I can't overstate how amazing it really is that you have Patrick Shanahan as the interim over the Department of Defense, and the Pentagon also being the interim Department of Treasury. Right? They're operating to clear funds, and you know what? That hasn't been long. It just took place on Thursday, so you got to think he probably has some time to adjust. But what I know he's already done better than anybody else, he did the easiest thing in the world to do that everybody out there watching can do who's in these positions.
He talked to Kim.
He talked to Kim, right, and asked her for proof, and she gave it to him, and he could cross-reference it with the Department of the Treasury, look at the actual allocation numbers. So if your level of intel, right, if you're somebody out there who's got sources, right, if your level of intel isn't able to cross-reference, those kind of numbers, believe me when I say they're not giving you intel, they're giving you psyops. They are the gatekeeper. They're the one who blocks anybody from knowing you are out there, right? So anybody who can actually make a difference, they don't know you exist, right? You're not getting intel.
Nope, they're coming for you.
Yeah, I know, right? No. So the reality is, in this whole thing, you've had Kim is the one really giving solid intel, and there's things that are close to correct, and theories and bits and pieces that people are very good at putting together, and some of that's accurate, right? But it's hard to tell. What I know for a fact is that at the top of the food chain, it's Kim. So and it doesn't. And it's easily provable. This is what is the tragedy of this whole thing. Any country out there, any treasury, if you're a prime minister, if you're the president, the vice president, it's your job to find out how to get money for your country. All you have to do is make sure that you go with a lot of security as the individual making the decision. And before you go, you make up your mind that there is nothing that is going to persuade you except what you see on that screen. That you are going to make your decision based on facts that you can validate. That if somebody threatens you, if somebody tries to bribe you, that you're not going to be compromised. And you make up your mind, and you go in and you look at that terminal, and you put the numbers in, and you see whose name comes up. Now, wouldn't that be easier? Now, what happened? Well, that's not what happens. When the president tells, his right-hand man, his advisor, the advisor goes and tells the cabal gateway guy, gatekeeper who blocks everything, right? The gatekeeper tells nobody, right? He calls the Rothschilds and says, yo, they just asked for this information. What do I do? And then the Rothschilds say, tell him it's a fraud. Go back. Come back. Oh, Kim's a fraud. Meanwhile, all you have to do is look to terminal yourself. And on top of that, stop taking advice from people that have been trying to kill you. The Rothschilds have done nothing. The Rothschilds, the Dragon families, the Order, all these hierarchies of the secret societies that you think mean something, they don't mean anything. They're no longer a secret. They're not even a resemblance of anything worth being part of. They are a satanic cult that is set on destroying everyone. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's a tragedy. Right now you're watching it happen in front of on a world stage, right? With what's going on with the Mueller report. The Mueller report is the third investigation done on a president who hasn't even been in office. Well, I guess is he 3 years now? Is it 3 years?
No, it's only 2.5. Yeah.
2.5 years they have spent investigating him from even before he became the president. They've been investigating him. The Senate cleared him. The House cleared him. Then finally they have a special team that President Trump cooperated with completely. And now they have the nerve to say at one point, as if it's a crime, because it's not a crime, because President Trump suspected that Mueller was going to try to do something shady, so he considered firing him. That's the big damning piece of evidence they think they have on him. It's like, wait a minute. He considered firing him? As a president, if you know there is a coup going on to take over the government, you better consider firing him.
Right, you better, yeah. But he took the advice. He took the advice of the attorney when he consulted with them, and said, "Don't fire him." And it says, "Okay, well, that's the end of that, right?" But no, that's the damning evidence. This is what we got to get him on. So, but first of all, there's no crime. So you need to have a crime in order to be prosecuted, right? So, and actually, it's not even a, if you go for impeachment, it is not a prosecution. It's just a recommendation to be prosecuted. That's all. That's all it is. Impeachment does not mean you get removed from office. Impeachment only means that they think that a crime occurred.
Right.
And they give it to who? The Attorney General. No, actually, no. I misspoke. I'm sorry. I believe it actually goes to the Senate for the trial. Of course, then the Senate's not going to convict. It would. Can you imagine if they did what the uprising would be?
I can imagine.
Yeah, people would really be upset and go after with pitchforks into Washington D.C. But that's not going to happen. So, anyway, where are we anyway? Hey, do we have an update today?
I don't have an update. Tomorrow's Mother's Day. My update is that I spent the day building crafts with my kids for their mother. So, I figured I'd give Kim a break. She has been relentless in her pursuit of freedom. And as far as I can tell, and as far as I'm concerned, she has done her part above and beyond. And I actually, had thought about actually having all of our project owners call in, send me videos and compile them just tell tell Kim who they were and what their project was, and just to say thank you. Because just happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, well, happy Mother's Day to Kim, because she's actually mothering the whole planet.
That's true. As much as they want to downplay, Kim's role, they really tried to do And people might not get behind a lot of this. Even in the book of Revelation, it talks about that there was a woman who appeared in the heavens. Now, I know this is an astrological thing, but you can also appreciate that these things have a reflection in the earth wind, right?
Right.
So there was a woman who was travailing in birth, wrapped in the sun, ready to bring forth her child, right?
Right.
And she was having a painful labor. And the dragon, it was like a 7-headed dragon or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is. The dragon waited to devour the child.
It's a red dragon.
Right. So now think about it. That's exactly what you have happening right now, right? Is that, Kim's ready to bring forth this new financial system, right? And in that process, you have the dragons are just waiting for that to somehow hit. Now, what they did was they thought they would be able to scoop all this stuff, right, all this money, because they thought they knew how the system worked. And then come to find out, they really didn't ever know how it worked, right, because they were just the head slaves. So they didn't know what happened. They just put their numbers into the asset redemption system, and they thought they were running the show, right? And then the reality is there was levels and levels above them that all the real programming went on, all the real quantum system, the real AI, the thing that has been really mapping everything, forever. And it was always above them. And they didn't know anything about it. And they can't access it. So imagine going to the one running that system and you have the nerve and audacity to call her a slave. Meanwhile, she was in meetings for 2 years, and she said she never saw a Rothschild once. They weren't even allowed at those meetings. They never even showed up. They laughed at them. They mocked the Rothschilds, just like us. They were no different than us.
Right.
They looked at us all the same.
And the Rothschilds are the one that had the most of their DNA.
That's right.
And they were laughed at.
They were laughed at, yeah. So that gives you an idea of the reason why the Rothschilds are the way they are about their own kids. They swap them around, trade them out, treat them like, now they're the big promotion. They're promoting all types of various, sexual education and sexual acts to kids, and, putting it all out there. I'll turn some people on to something else too, just a little FYI. Something I've theorized about and I still believe is part of their agenda, right? Now you have what they've done is they've created the vape, right? Now the vape is this little little device that like heats up a mist, right? And it heats up some kind of chemical. You breathe it in, and the idea is, hey, you're not smoking, right? It's just a vapor.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is I designed something just like that when I was in college, right? And we were talking about, like, it would be brilliant to do this because it would be an amazing way to deliver medication, right? So now they have this vape out there, right? And they have all these things, and you have no idea what's in them because you don't know what the ingredients. You can see what the ingredients are, but they're not just natural ingredients. And then on top of that, they're not mixed in front of you, so you don't really know what's in them. You don't know what's in them. Now, wouldn't it be easy, the same way they've done it with everything else, for them to just put things in those vapes that would cause us to get sick? The same way they have with cigarettes and everything else, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah, they make special blends. Who knows what they would end up putting in. And then, look at the list of ingredients because they'll tell us what's in them. All right. But it'll be like this really long list that's in very tiny writing that's hard to read. Yeah.
But you know what? I got them covered, Dan. I got them covered because I've already got people working on formulas that they can put in those vapes that will be healing vapes. They'll be vapes that you can take, you can use them, and they will literally help your frequency. They will allow you to breathe in things that are healing your body.
Yep.
Healing your body. Imagine that.
Yep.
It's amazing. They have a bill on the floor right now trying to make new supplements illegal, right? Like certain things that heal your body. Anything that heals you, they want it regulated by doctors who don't know anything about it. They don't know anything about it. They don't use nutrients. They don't even hardly. I mean, it's such a small portion of doctors who even understand nutrition. So, but we can change all this, and it's not even hard. that's part of the frustration with this, I'm sure for a lot of people, myself included, is that these are not hard decisions. It's the underlying purpose and intention that we have to identify and root out. Now, if your intention is to, abide by and operate according to the UN sustainable guidelines, they are only sustainable guidelines based on the idea that because of people, there's climate change, right? So that's wrong. That's not true. Matter of fact, the United Nations itself says in their own documentation that there's no evidence or correlation for population increase that would cause any global climate warming. There's nothing to imply that at all. There's no real research. But what they have is documents that repeat the same thing. So it'd be like Dan and I do a show together, and Dan says, this is the best way to do something. Then I go repeat it, and I reference Dan. Meanwhile, I was on the same show with Dan when he said it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Dan is just referencing something I told him. So now I'm referencing myself, right? It's the same corrupt database. Right. Everything they say is designed to corrupt the way we think
it's
about
more
things.
corrupt than that, because literally they did mathematical calculations that ended up rounding information, and they took the rounded numbers and put them into another algorithm, which basically created a much bigger differential in temperature than there actually was. They magnified the minute changes by this method. So they falsified the information. Even though the core information was correct, the way they processed it emphasized the minute changes to much bigger than they were, and it came out on the other end as we're going to be burning up by going up degrees, several degrees at a time, and so on. But it's not that way. In fact, we're actually in global cooling. We're back to where we were. We're in the solar minimum. If there is a actual heat wave, right? Then people say, "Oh, look, it's hot." No, I just finished summer, right? Well, sort of. We're just coming out of the summertime. It's not as hot anymore, right? But during the heating time, I'm saying, "Oh, it's so hot. It must be global warming," right? Because it's what people hear and notice when they're in the heat wave at the time. It's normal. They hear it's global warming, so oh yeah, now it's warming. I have now proof. So then they go with that. It's not. You're losing perspective because of you're only hearing it to times when it's actually hot. So they use that against us, and they time these things, so we can go along with the agenda. CO2 is not a pollutant. It's
exactly right. Exactly.
Air is a pollutant. Oxygen is a pollutant. We don't want too much oxygen; it might cure cancer.
And this is true, right? Because they the various. I don't know what maybe the draconians or one of these groups, right, who controls this kind of stuff. They like less oxygen in the air, right? So our oxygen levels are about 30% less than what they should be. And if we just had that oxygen, all by itself would probably eradicate, 99% of the disease we have.
Okay, so look at this. So they're making carbon the enemy, right? So if you have more carbon, you put out more carbon, they're going to now make it into a profit center for them. So what is going to be the result is more carbon in the atmosphere, right? So they can make more money. So it's always the opposite of what they're trying to do, right? So they're going to create more CO2, and make it more habitable or more hospitable for others that like less oxygen, right? So it's ultimately a goal to create more CO2 by saying this is what we're against. Every time they're against something, it just gets into a profit center for them. Let's not.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's not let that happen. Stop
Now,
the
let's not
insanity.
let that happen. That's a great idea.
Let's not do that.
Let's just, we have to change the focus, right? It's not the slave's fault, right? And I say this with all due respect, because I hate that term, or to ever think of myself as a slave, and I reject any slavery, any part of that. But you can't blame the people that you are beating down, keeping isolated, lying to, dividing, controlling their minds, controlling their diet, poisoning them, taking their children, dividing their families, and then say it's their fault. It is not their fault. It is your fault. You guys' fault who's on this call, not the people, not the regular people, but those of you who are on this call right now waiting for me to say something and say it too many times, and then you want to drop the call. Because you think that you're better than everybody else. Why don't you just come join humanity? Why don't you just come be part of the movement? You know,
It should be.
Your knowledge would be so valuable. Your knowledge would be so valuable that we could do virtually anything. But instead, you want to be a slave to some other galactic race, and they're not even full on galactic. They're some half-breed galactic, right? and they don't dominate with the good part of the galactics, right? They didn't take the best attributes of that galactic race. Humans did. The true humans, people that that are a combination of various, the best aspects of these other galactics, right? That's what it means to be human. Those of you who are bloodline X, Y, or Z, right, and you've been trained to, kill your offspring and eat people and do all these horrible things, those people, they're the ones trying to control everybody. Now, most of the people right now who are manipulated by them, if they would just wake up and realize that's true. And look, I know this for a fact. I talked to a nurse who works on a military base, and she was saying that on that military base, there was one hospital where the regular people went. Then there was another place where they took the elite or the blue bloods, right? And she said they were not like us. They were totally different because they are not like us. Because they're not human, right? That's real evidence. Now look, that's firsthand reporting. That's real news. That's real stuff that goes on. Now, if you can imagine, in a court of law, there's no stronger testimony, there's no stronger witness than an eyewitness, right? Now you start to bring on these people that have actually seen this stuff. Now I'll venture a guess that there's a lot more people that have seen amazing things that they have rationalized didn't actually happen because it just doesn't make sense in their reality. If they would just step up and start talking about it everywhere, you start talking about it, and how are you going to deny it? Because everybody in the mainstream media right now, they're listening. They're listening right now. Maybe not though, because a lot of mainstream media is just kind of like they don't even care. They're so consumed with their glam life that they're living, right?
Yeah.
So they don't care about actually getting the truth. They don't care about actually doing the research or the work. There's a radio station out of Las Vegas, and this woman runs the entire station herself, and she used to be a newscaster for ABC News. And when she was at ABC News, she would go to these reports, and what would happen is she would they would move things around on the scene to create the news. And she challenged them. She goes, do we report the news or create the news? And they told her, if you don't be quiet, you won't have a job. So she left. But that's what you do when you have high character. Now she runs her own show. She lets everybody come on and talk about it. Then you have that same woman. She was in a vampire coven when she was in college.
Right.
And in this vampire coven, she was in that vampire coven for like 7 years. And she said she saw, some pretty way out there things. She goes, but then it went too far. And she goes, and for someone like me, she goes, too far is really far. I mean, you can imagine how awful it must have been because she'd already been in a vampire coven for 7 years,
Right.
So she said that there was these elite men who would come in with masks on, and they would buy the women, and those women knew that they would become their concubines. So they would put this spell on them on the right shoulder. And those women, you see that script on their right shoulders because they are owned property of one of these elites.
Right.
And in return, they get to have this amazing life and do all these incredible things, right? But all of it comes at a price. And she told me outright that many of the women that she sees in Congress today were part of that same vampire coven.
I believe it.
Because that's how they got there.
Yeah.
That's how they got there.
Yeah. Well, let's look at their shoulders. Let's take a look.
It's so beyond ridiculous, right? That this has been what's kept us hostage, and how close to it we all are. And everybody, who got busted or benefited from it, right? They got some scrap from the master's table, and when they took the scrap, they thought, I want to keep getting scraps. So whatever they say, I'll do. Now, what if you could be the master of your own house, of your own self, of your own life, and you could eat whatever you could be at the table yourself and fare sumptuously? Why not choose that path? Why not be a leader, and why not do it in a way that isn't at the expense of everybody? Because at that table there's plenty to eat. They throw away more food. They just throw it away. But there's plenty for everybody. There's no overpopulation issue. I defy anybody to tell me there's a population issue when you can drive from New York to California, and if you did it the right way, you would never have to talk to a single human being. You could stop at 1,000. You could stop at 100 gas stations on the way and just use your card, swipe your card, and never even see a person. You wouldn't even have to. You just drive straight across the country.
Right.
The whole country. That's how vast it is. But they crowd us all into the city. So if they wanna wipe us out, it doesn't take much.
Right.
It doesn't take much.
Well, this is why moving people out of the rural areas in California by making their homes burst into flames and turn to ash. Right. So it forces people, and they've also set it up so that they cannot get insurance, so they cannot rebuild. So what's the purpose of insurance if you can't have insurance where there's we're not going to insure here and here and here. You want to, especially when you're if the problem is lasers from space, that should be able to be sued, right? You can sue the companies that are basically burning up your home, and get damages.
It's an amazing thing when you think about it. I'm still so fascinated by this borax, right? Borax, which is basically a laundry detergent here, right? It's one element though. It's an earth element, right? And you can put a teaspoon of borax in like a liter of water, right? Now go look it up. Don't take my word on this, but go look it up. But that, I'm pretty sure that's right. And you can take that and you can drink that water, like over a period of a couple of days, right? Take it for a couple of days at a time, then stop, right? And then maybe again do it next month. That'll actually go in and break up the plaque in your arteries. That'll break up the plaque around your pineal gland. That'll break up the plaque caused by fluoride in the water they're poisoning you with. So, we could actually put borax in the drinking water for a while, and it would diffuse the actual fluoride. Now imagine that.
Interesting.
Imagine what's possible, how simple. And that's detergent. I mean, it's billed as detergent, which, by the way, good for them. I hope they don't take it off the market. Because these fools, they got a way. That's brilliant, though, if you think about it. Oh, it's detergent, Yeah, like, they're not going to mess with detergent. It's like they're trying to go after supplements and things that But like if you realize that's all you had to do, you take that, it'll cure arthritis. And thank you. So somebody sent me that, by the way, about borax, and I didn't have the number stored on my phone, so I don't even know who did. But thank you for doing that, whoever sent me that, because that was excellent. I'm drinking it right now. I get my arteries cleared out, my pineal gland opened up for $5.49. It cost me.
Yeah,
and I have enough borax to last
I'll
a
look
lifetime.
up getting some borax myself. Thanks for the tip.
Yeah.
Wasn't this the same stuff that's used to kill roaches? It's like a powder, roach powder. I think
it might be. It could be.
Because but the way it actually works is it's not really poison. It's such a fine powder that when the roaches walk through it, it gets into their breathing apparatus, right? And so they're not able to breathe. They actually suffocate. It's an interesting way of killing off roaches, but I remember using that because I was very much against having poison, using poison for things. But sometimes you have to. I mean, no other result. It's like the flea medication, right? It ends up being a poison. Works to get rid of fleas. Put it on the body of the animal, right? Works pretty well.
Yeah, all these things.
So
it's.
I wanted to say I had a conversation last night with people in Liberia. One of the political leaders, as well as a group of Liberians, that all working very excited about using TBC. And I was just thinking about that. They're doing something, right? They want to take action to get rid of poverty, right? And so they're desperate to do something, right? They're very happy, right, to move forward and do something, and we're all need to do something to move us forward. And I'm happy that that I've started working with you, Tank, on this, and that this is all coming about. I was going to put up the video. I just didn't get to editing it today to really just focus on it, saying that everything can happen. Liberia is a very poor country, right? And but we can create a system to help them, right? And but it's not just them; it's just everybody. We've got to, but that's the whole point of this, is coming together and knowing that we can take the major steps for people to do simple things that just get us to a state of happiness. Right? It doesn't take much. It really doesn't. And then that's what will change. The vibration will change, and all the dark forces will vanish. They literally just will vanish. Because they can't take the light, they can't take the good vibes, right? And so I'm happy to be part of this and what's happening. But we need to make our push. So those people out there that are standing on the sidelines and just used to following the prescripted plan that you've been taught, educated, trained to do this and that, to not think. We need to move forward. That means we need everyone to join in.
Yep. Well, and that's exactly where we're at. And the reality is that they've suppressed technology, they have suppressed development, they've rerouted projects, they've stolen money, they've convinced people exactly what Willie Lynch told them to do. Make it so the only people they can trust is you. I'm telling you, by now, embrace this. This is my attitude for a long time. I am not loyal to people. I am loyal to principles. And I don't compromise those principles under any circumstances. And the reason why is because people sometimes they do get corrupted. And even if you love them, they get corrupted. If you stay loyal to them, what will happen? Inevitably, they'll take you down the same path. Don't be loyal to a brand name. Like you are not branded like a cow to the Democrats or the Republicans or anything else, or the brand name you wear on your clothes, or the brand name you think you are, whatever you think you are.
Right.
Let go of those things and define who you want to be and hold to that principle under all circumstances. And when the moment comes that you are tested, remember your principles. Even if you got to cut people out of your life altogether who you love. Because I've done it. I've done it. It's not an easy path. But I'll tell you what, my integrity is intact. I don't worry when my integrity is attacked by the likes of any one of these frauds out there who thinks they know what's going on. I am not concerned about their silly nonsense they're going to try to throw at me, because the things they say have no weight. You couldn't find a recording of me anywhere, and there's probably 1,000 of them out there from conference calls and all types of things. But even when I was wrong, you won't find it out there of me saying anything hateful, promoting any violence. You won't find me speaking down to people or about people. These aren't what we're talking about. And I'm talking about principles. These people are in violation of human life. They're in violation of human life. You know, I always think on Mother's Day. About my mom, because my mom and her best friend, everything in their life was exactly the same. Their birthday was the same day. They got their period the same day. They lost their virginity the same day. Everything. And they both thought they were pregnant at the same time. And my mom's friend called her up and said, "Kim, I'm not pregnant." And so my mom was so confident, she said, "Okay, I'm not pregnant, thank goodness," right? She was 16. The next day, her friend called her up and said, "Kim, I had an abortion." And my mom made a decision that day. That day, she knew she was pregnant and she was having a baby. And that was in the 70s. That was in a very small, very conservative, very conservative upstate New York town, right? And they forced her to drop out of high school, right? Because they couldn't let the other kids see that. But I think about that every day. It's Mother's Day, and right now, as we speak, we have been able to touch millions of people. We have been able to sway whole governments, politicians, just by speaking the truth. Because my mom decided to be pro-life.
Yep. He has to speak out. That's why it's important to reach out, talk to people, do broadcasts just like this. It's not hard. I mean, it's hard to get started, right? Because you convince yourself not to do it. But just make yourself a little plan. Just write it down. Say, tomorrow I'm going to do this at this time, and then just make a little, couple sentences of what you're going to talk about, and that's it. Don't make a very a long list and make it too big. Just do it. And then share to YouTube. That's it. You're done. Right? Do it again and again.
You're right. But there's so much. Look, next week, every night, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock on SpeakProRadio.com, we are going to interview project owners, and we're going to allow them to come on and talk about their amazing, amazing projects, so we can put these things on record for the world to know that the technology is out there. And those are the things I am telling you, please put those things out, because when more and more people realize, you know what, we can cure cancer. We have the cure for AIDS. And I don't even know, if they're going to allow me to talk about that, the individuals who have it. But I'm telling you, that's real. All this is real. Now, we start sharing that with people, and then people realize, wait a minute, these are out there? What the heaven is the Cancer Research Association doing? That organization that experiments on kids, what are they doing? Nothing. They're all doing nothing. They're torturing people, and all the people on the inside, they don't even realize that that's what they're doing. Who does the research for them? Nobody. They don't do research to try to cure cancer. They're doing research to see what cancer will do to the body. That is the reality that we live in. And I'm telling you what, I am determined that every ounce, every bit of me, they will never beat us. They will never beat us. The chains have been removed. The trustee has completely reprogrammed the entire world's financial system. The entire system is written now in a language that they can't even speak. So tell me, what are they going to do? Because the entire world is mapped to that system, and all the assets are held by it. They don't have a shot anywhere. Zero. So if you're on that team, you're on the losing team, and that is the global currency reset team as well. They're part of that same group. The Chinese elders are the Rothschilds of the West, of the East, right? They're the dragon families of the East. They are just an extension of the same group who has been trying to commit mass genocide by way of depopulation, by way of drugging your food, your air, your water, your mind. That is what you have been dealing with. And the more you realize that, the more you stand up. All of us have been in a situation where we have bowed down to money, to people with money. We've all sat there on our knees with our face on the ground, looking at the limited possibilities of what we thought was possible because they had us chained together with others. That's all they could do, so that's all we could do. And they categorized it and separated us. And that's what they did. And in front of us, we had to look up. And when we looked up, we saw one that was so great. But the only reason why they were great is because they were on their feet. Now, as soon as you stand up on your feet, you can look at that same one straight in the eye. And you look at one in the eye, you realize you are not bigger than me. You are not stronger than me. You're not greater than me. You have just had more advantages. And you can change the world that way. And when everybody stands up, stops bowing down to something that is no more powerful than they are, then all of us, we can revolutionize the way things are done. And focus on actually making decisions in the best interest of people and the life they have. We can extend the lifespan to what it should be, hundreds of years, not decades, not a few decades. All of that is possible. Matter of fact, all of that is probable. All of that is happening, and it must happen. So repeat the message. Tell your friends. If you get the job done, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to give you 1 hour blocks next week, and I promise you, I'm going to have that format so tight because I've been instructed to do so. So I'm going to have that format tight. I'll have the message tight, and you can share it with everybody. And you can put that out there, and you know what? And they're not going to mess with it. They're not going to take it down. We're going to put out a quality product. It'll be efficient. It'll be high level, and you can share it with everybody. And use it as a weapon. Go change the world with it. Tell everybody. And I'm not advertising. I won't have anything out there. I'm not trying to sell you anything. So all these jokers who want to try to lump me in with somebody else, oh, they're cabal, they're this, tanks to seed. How? Because while they're selling their goofy products and their health is failing, and they're telling you take this for your health, right? And you know what I'm talking about because it's out there. While they're telling you that, I'm not doing that. So it's time for that. That's where we're at. We are at a revolutionary moment in the history of mankind. This is your opportunity. It comes down to love or money, right? And you can have money and you can have love. But if you have a choice, choose love every time. Every time. If you have to choose. Dan, that's pretty much all I got, man.
Well, that's good. It's exciting to hear the projects. People will be talking about their projects because that, I think, will actually go a long way to getting people set, right? To say, oh, well, I got to start thinking about my project. Right? And it helps when you have a reference. Let's see, because a lot of people have a question, well, how do I get started? Well, listening to others will do it. Yeah. So I think,
and we're bringing people into the network. We're bringing them in. We're backlogged a bit. With a couple hundred names still, because I'm still trying to interview everybody myself. Because I want to know that at the end of the day, everybody in that network has agreed to operate by these same terms. We are all going to operate in the best interest of humanity and the world and each other, right? And I want to make sure that we all hold
I
that.
just sent Tui the link. I thought I sent him the right link. Somehow it became the wrong link. Interesting enough how that happened. Because I'd already pasted it to you, and you got on. I pasted it to him, and it was yesterday's link.
I see.
Very weird. Anyway, so Tui will probably be joining us momentarily. But it is. I think also having a place where these broadcasts of the projects. I'd like to put them into the Where We Go When We Go All site, right, and make a place for those. Anyway, we need to talk about that. I have, as I said, I want to talk with you about where I can see it fitting under the restructuring the financial system. And people making projects and people going out and doing things. I think is a very big front to make this change happen. Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Indeed, yeah. Well,
Indeed.
yeah. Okay, that's the cue, Tui. Indeed.
Hey, Dan. Hey, thank.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I know. Yeah, I've been working on it. Love to.
Wow.
Well, man, I'm gonna give it a minute.
Well, no, yeah, let's give it a minute. I have something else. Have you seen the latest Serial Brain 2? Okay, it's a very good one. I did talk about it at the beginning of the broadcast today, and I really suggest people look at it. And it really goes into number one. It's about the and I'm spelling it out, MAGIC, right, and how they use it and to manipulate things. And this is in relation to the latest stories of that combine the Kentucky Derby and the Russian crash of the plane, and how it's tied together with Trump's tweets, right, to point you in the right direction to analyze. And it basically is showing how we're using this as a spell to reverse the flow, meaning that they're worried, right? They need to reverse the flow of how things are going. So they're doing this massive spell to try and correct the flow to where they want it to go. But it's not working. Yeah. So anyway, but it goes deep into that connection and really seeing how they use this, how they use Hollywood, how they use the media, how they use things that are to change the where people's intentions are, or I'm sorry, not intention, where people's minds are focused. And so if they can get people to vibrate to that, it gives them the energy to carry it in the direction they want. So that's what the spells are all about. That's how they cast them, right, in this manner to manipulate the flow of energy. And so we have to understand this is the tools that are being used. That's why when we're talking here, we're setting our intention about bringing about a new abundance-based world, right? Instead of debt, we're going to be based on abundance, different mindset, right? So we're changing the mindset. This is the intention that we're putting out there. So we're having an effect that's rolling out as people could gather together around the ideas and they start listening, they start talking about it. It's the same thing. But they're under the illusion from the demons, right, that Solomon had controlled, that the demons put this system in place in which they had to receive payment for doing things. So anyway, it gets pretty deep. So I highly suggest people will check out Serial Brain 2. But if you haven't, if it may be a little too deep to go into right off the bat, you might try it, see if you can follow it. If not, go back over Serial Brain 2's, and it's and we know is the YouTube channel. And we know, AND, and we know. That's the YouTube channel. And go back to some of the much earlier ones where he actually explains how the decodes work. So you might be able to follow along better, but you might be able to catch on right from the beginning. And so go ahead and try it out. But it's really fascinating, to see, because this is the level at which how deep this system is, the level of how far down you can go to see what is being unfolded in front of us. There's a very soft layer out there of the deep state, being the bureaucracy is the problem, right? The crazy people studying at the desks, with the rubber stamps, they're the ones that are causing the problem. Right? That's so very base. If you need to look at it as that's where the problem is, okay. But to go beyond that to where it's the politicians, go beyond that to the bankers, go beyond that to the bloodline families, go beyond that to other entities controlling things. Whatever level, it doesn't matter, because we're setting the intention to create a brand new abundant world. Well, the world is abundant. We just have to partake in the abundance and know that it's for us to use it. And as we go forth, we create more abundance. That's what we have to wake up to.
Everything is vibration and frequency. Everything.
So says Tesla. Let it be so.
And those vibrations create waves that ripple out, and they create the reality that we live in. The more that we vibrate at the frequency of love, of peace, of super heroics, whatever the frequency, however you want to define it, but the best version of yourself. If you just look inward and start from the deepest part of yourself, address your these guys, they worked to try to break our heart. The RV, what it should be called, it's an operation to break your heart, right? They kept telling you it was coming, and then denied you. Telling you it was coming and denied you. Had you break up your family because you were so determined that you knew what was going on. And every country in the world knew the same thing, and you were in the know. Right? They tried to break your heart. Don't let them.
Yeah. Have you
Even
ever?
if they did break your heart,
Have you
put it
ever?
back together.
All right. Have you ever seen a film that was from maybe 15 years ago called "What the Bleep Do We Know"?
No, but I've heard of it.
Yeah. So if you want to dig in to see how things actually function, how things happen, how the reality waves off of what we're doing, go to that. It actually has a very good explanation and says it in a nice way to explain how your thoughts are transformed into reality. Right, and as animated characters in there, they go a long way. So it's really good to express it. When this first came out, I went to the movie theater, a dozen times. I literally did, taking people and say, "This is how it works. This is how it works. Here, come on." So I even brought a group. Half were engineers and half were physicists. Maybe about 30 people. To it. We basically took over one whole theater at the time to go see this. It was from a technology conference that I was helped put together, and so just to have the conversations, and all the physicists were all saying, "Oh no, it doesn't work that way." It's very funny. All the engineers agreed that this is how it works. That's pretty funny, but it's really something that. If you get this, I used to be available on Netflix way back when, but it's been around for a long time. I'm sure you can find it. What the bleep do we know? BLEEP. It used to be what the $? Hashtag,
Right.
And they changed it to what the bleep. So this will give you an idea of how your thoughts, get. Change your things in your body to create chemicals, neuropeptides from your brain that actually cause you to do things in the world around you that create the reality that you were thinking about. And it even talks about how your internal thoughts about yourself affect your health. If you're going around and telling yourself you're bad, right? say, oh, you're doing everything wrong, what effect that has on you. If you go around saying how well you're doing today, what's going on, or be happy about your life and how things can proceed, what that effect happens. So I highly suggest that's something people look into. I see Tui has joined us. He's on mute. He's running to the iPad, fumbling for the unmute. Yeah. Oh no, we might.
Oh, he's coming now.
Well, he is connected, but he hasn't come on. Of course, we may be in a delay situation. Love to hear what's going on in Fiji.
Me too.
Yeah. Especially other island nations. What's going on? I'd like to know. But Tui's gone. He's dropped off. He didn't want to tell us. No update from Fiji.
No problem. Yeah. Well, that being said, sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
I think we already said a mouthful. So, hey man,
no, Tui's
tomorrow
back.
night, same
Tui's
time,
back.
same Dan channel.
But Tui's back again. He popped back on, but he's muted.
I'm gonna channel him. Let me work on my Tui. Okay, hey Dan. Go. Hey Tank.
Hey Tui, good to talk to you.
The Chiefs here fully understand.
Hey Dan.
Hey Tui. Tank's imitating you. He's got you down.
Love you, Tui. Love you.
How is
Tui, we have a delay. You just go ahead and talk. We're not going to say anything.
Sorry, it's a little delay. So slow. I just wanna.
Delay. It's funny.
That's a big delay. So go for it. Just talk.
Yeah, so we just. I'm just gonna say a few things because there's a lot of delay. Just an update from here in Fiji. We. Okay. All right. First of all, just want to say thank you so much to everyone. Thank you very much, all of you guys that are listening in on the show.
We lost Tui. I guess we'll he doesn't have a good connection. All right, we can try it again tomorrow.
Cool in the gang.
All right, everybody.
Well, appreciate it.
All right, Tank. We'll catch you tomorrow. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to give likes, give positive comments, and we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye bye.
All right, have a good night.
Of course, the screen got away from me. There we go. And